Welcome to Game Fondue Reviews. In this video we're going to take a look at Thurn and Taxis. Thurn and Taxis is a card-driven game in which players are competing to build the best postal system. Let's jump right in with a description of the rules, see a few example turns being played, and then I'll be back for some closing remarks.
This is Thurn and Taxis, set up for a two-player game. To set it up, you shuffle the deck of cards, then you lay 6 face up on the indicated spaces of the board. Also, you put the 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 carriages on the indicated spaces up top. Then you lay out the bonus tiles. They always go from the highest number down to the lowest number on the bottom, and there's different bonus tiles that go in different spaces of the board. There's also a couple up here as well. Then each player takes all the houses in their color and then a card to indicate what color they are, as well as a summary card. Players take turns in clockwise order, and each turn has 3 phases. The first is they must take a card, the second is they must play a card, and the third is they have the option to close and score a route if they'd like to. Also, during your turn, you can get support from one of these individuals. There's 4 different powers that you could borrow, but you can only take 1 per turn. The game ends at the end of a round when a player acquires the value 7 carriage, and what I mean by the end of the round is all players are going to have an equal number of turns. You have to make sure you indicate the first player of the game in some way. So let's get to the game turn. So the first part of the turn is to take a card. You can either take the top card of the deck or any of these face-up cards. As soon as you take a card, it's replaced by another card of the deck. Oh, another Pilsen. And then you would have this card in your personal hand and move to the next phase. But if you ever start a turn with 0 cards in your hand, you must use the Postmaster ability, which allows you to take a second card. Again, it can be any of these or from here. And remember, you can only use 1 ability of the turn. I mention this in particular because during the first turn of the game, everybody has to take 2 cards. And you do get to see the new card come out before you pick a new one. Alternatively, there is one other ability that applies to this phase of the game. Then there's one that applies to the second and one that applies to the third part of your turn. But the other is before taking a card, you discard all 6 to the face-up discard pile and lay out 6 new ones. So you can do either of those, but in any case, if the deck ever runs out, you have to shuffle the discard pile to form a new one. But if you don't choose to use either of those 2 abilities, you can use other abilities later in the turn. So the next part of your turn is to play a card. And you either add to an existing route in front of you, or you start a new one. Obviously, at the beginning of the game, you don't have one yet, so you would start a new one. If this guy over here, just to make it easier for you to see, played Pilsen, for instance, on a later turn, he has to play cards to the left or right of Pilsen. You can never stick in the middle of 2 cards that would continue that route. So Pilsen is adjacent to certain regions on the map. He'd have to play one of those. If he didn't have one of them or chose not to for whatever reason, he would discard this and start a new route. But you do want to build on routes in this game because that's how you score points. So if he had Nuremberg in his hand or he picked it that turn, he could play it for the second part of his turn and he could put it on either side of Pilsen. But remember, from then on, you can never stick anything between them and you continue branching based on where these places are adjacent to. And it's always one straight line. You can't have various branches in it. Also, even if you have another city over here that connects back to Pilsen, you can never loop this and you can never play another Pilsen card. You can only have 1 city of each type in your route. In a normal turn, you're just going to be playing 1 card, but if you haven't used the power yet this turn, you can use the ability to play 2 cards as your turn, and that is the Postal Carrier. So after drawing a card and then playing a card, and any modifiers based on any of the abilities you use, the last part of your turn is you have the option to close your route and score it. You can only close a route if it's at least 3 cities long. Right here is only 2 cities long, so you wouldn't be able to close it. But in another example where this was a little bit longer, you could elect to close it. And when you close it, a few different things happen in order. The first is you get to place houses. And the way that works is when something is closed, you can either place houses in all of the cities in one province of cards you have, or in 1 city of each province. And provinces are differentiated on the board by colors. So if you had a route that included Pilsen, Budweis, Linz, and Salzburg, you could either place 1 house in each province on one of the cities that you have, or you could place on all in 1 area. You can't do both, so it's either going to be 1 here and 1 here. You can also never place a house where you already have one. So if you already had one in Linz from previous turn, maybe you would want to do something like this. You can certainly pick which one you place on, but it's either all or 1 in each. It's also important to note that if another player already has a house there, you can still place there. There's room for everybody's house in each city. But houses are limited, so if you run out of houses, you cannot place anymore, and that's definitely important for scoring bonuses, which we're going to talk about right now. So after placing houses, you check if your new route met any of the bonus conditions. The simplest is over here. You'll see a 5, a 6, and a 7. If your route was that many cards long or that many cities included in it, you take the corresponding number. If you go beyond 7, you just take 7. Or if there's ever an empty pile, like let's say you had a 7, but all these were empty, you would take the next lowest number. So you would get a 6, and that works the same for all of them. You get to keep your bonus tiles face down in front of you, so other players may not know what you have. Additionally, based on the position of your new houses, you may have filled a region or a group of regions. Like you'll see, this one here applies to this province and this province here. So let's say I had all these red houses here. I would get to take the topmost marker there. You can get any number of these, so if you make a whole bunch of city routes 7 long, you can just keep taking from the 7s, but these you can only get once, because remember, you can never replace guys on the same places that you've already placed. There's also this one up here that once you get one person or one house in every single province, including lots up here, you get to take this, and that one's worth quite a bit of points. Unfortunately, if you ever fill an area and you're out of tiles, you don't get to take one, so it's important to get these things done fast. After taking bonus tiles or checking for bonus tiles if you didn't get any, you have the ability to get a new carriage. And the way carriages work is you always have to get them in order. So you have to start with size 3 and then 4, 5, 6. And if you discarded cities or a route of at least that many cities, you take the corresponding carriage. So even if I first did a route that was 6 cities long, I can't jump up to the 6. I got to take the 3 first. But in order to get to the 4, I still have to discard one of at least 4. And when you get them in front of you, you just kind of stack them on top of each other. The below one is kind of forgotten in terms of scoring. Only the top score is going to matter for the end of the game, which is this value at the bottom there. The game ends the round that a player gets this 7. So maybe not everybody's going to get a 7, but remember, everybody gets an equal number of turns. Also, the first person to get that 7 gets this bonus marker here worth 1 point. And that brings us to our fourth and final support power, and that's the Cartwright. And what he does is he allows you to take one of these carriages even if you were up to 2 less than it. So for example, if you already had the 4 in front of you and you just finished a route that was 3 cities long, you could still take this 5 over top of that 4. Remember, you still can't skip any numbers. You have to go from the 4 to the 5, but he can take away up to 2. So you could even get this 7 with a route that's only 5 cities long. So at the end of scoring, you discard all of your cards, and you have to reduce your hand size to 3, which means you might have to discard some cards from your hand. So all the scoring in this game happens at the end, and the way that's calculated is a few different things. The first is the value of your highest carriage, and again, that's in the bottom corner. It's not the number of the carriage itself. And then you add all of the value of your bonus tiles that you've accumulated, and then you subtract any houses you still have in your supply that you didn't place on the board. After that, you have your final score, and whoever has the most points wins. Let's get going with this example playthrough. We're going to start with the green player, and he's going to start his turn by taking a card from the group. Remember, because he started the turn with 0 cards in his hand, he has to use the ability to take 2 cards this turn. So first he's going to take Stuttgart, and again, this would go to his hand, but we're going to keep it face up to make it a little easier for everybody to see. And then he's going to take Nuremberg as his second. And then for the next part of his turn, he must play a card. So he's going to go ahead and play Stuttgart. Now, if he had a city that was or a route that was at least 3 cities long, he could close it out and score, but he doesn't, so that's not even an option at this point. And remember, scoring is always optional. So now the red player is going to go, and he's in a very similar situation, being that he started his hand with 0 cards. So he has to take at least 2. He's going to take Pilsen as 1, and then he's going to flip the next one and hope he gets something nice and good. And then he's going to take Zurich for a second. So he takes them in his hand, and remember, he must play one. He has absolutely no choice in the matter. So he's going to go ahead and lay down Zurich in front of him. So that has started his first route. And it goes back to the other player. This time he does not have to take 2 cards if he doesn't want to. For his first draw, though, he's going to take Wurzburg. Then he can wait and see what comes up here before he decides if he's going to take a second card or not. So at this time he has to choose. But remember, if he was to wipe out the cards as his one action for one special ability for the turn, he would have to do that before picking anything. He can't wipe out all 6 cards at this point. And he does decide he's going to take a second card, and he's going to take this one here. So remember, he can't use any more abilities this turn because he's already used his ability for the turn. Then he's going to lay out Karlsruhe here. He has to pick a side of Stuttgart, and he just lays out the card like that. And again, he can't score yet because he hasn't quite reached 3 cities, although he may want to wait till longer to get some more bonuses and things like that. We're going to move ahead in the game to when somebody has a whole bunch of stuff on the board and we can see some more interesting situations. Welcome back. The red player actually just played 2 cards by using an ability, and he's decided he wants to close out and score this route. So first thing he does is he counts the number of cities in it. It is 7 cities, so he gets to take the bonus for that many cities, and he keeps that face down in front of him. And then he gets to place his houses. He could either place all of them in one area, for example, on both of these locations, or he could place one in each area. Because he's got lots of colors, he's going to place one in each. So he's going to get one in Mannheim, one in Stuttgart, and you have to place them in the places that are depicted on your cities, by the way. One in München. He could have also put here, but he's already there, so there's no point. One in Innsbruck. Then he can choose either Salzburg or Linz, but he cannot do both. He'll just pick Salzburg down here. Now, there's some significance to this because you check if any particular regions are complete, and this one is. He has a whole bunch of guys, one in each of those places, so he gets that bonus tile. No other region is fully complete. However, he does have one guy now in each region, so he's going to score this as well. That was a huge turn for red. And then these are discarded, and he has to discard down to 3 cards in hand, but he only has 2 cards in his hand, so he's okay. He doesn't have to discard anymore. So it goes over to, oh, one more thing. That was a 7 size route, so he gets to take this 6 size carriage. He can't jump up to the 7 because right now he's only at a 5, so he takes that and he puts that here. When this last carriage gets purchased or acquired, the game will be over at the end of that round. We're going to move over to green's turn and we'll join back at the end for final scoring. Welcome back. The game is almost over. This player has just played a card here and he's decided to score this city worth 5. So first he gets to place houses and he can go all in one province or spread out. Since 4 of these cards are in the same place, he's going to go for them. So he gets to put one on Passau and Regensburg. He already has one on Nuremberg, so we can't put it there, but then he's going to put on Würzburg. Now, because his group is 5, he usually gets the bonus, but unfortunately for him, those bonuses are out. And remember, you get the next one down, and there is none. Fortunately, however, he has filled this area, so he gets to take this bonus because he has one guy on every space there, and he puts it in front of him. Now, since he didn't use any other abilities during the game, he's going to use the Cartwright. So even though this is a 5, he's going to take that 7 because it's up to 2 less. And he already has the 6, so he gets that 7 in front of him. And because he's the first person to get the 7, he gets this 1-point bonus tile. So all of these are discarded, and he has to discard down to 3 cards, but he only has 2 cards in his hand, so he's okay at this time. So now, since each player's had the same number of turns, the game is over. And the way the scores are calculated works like this. So first, you're going to get the number of points based on this. So this is only the 7 carriage, but it's worth 10 points, so he's going to get 10 plus all of his bonus tiles, which is going to be 15, 21, 22, 25, 30 points, minus his unused houses, so that's going to be minus 3, so his final score is 27. This guy over here has 7 for this carriage, and then plus his bonuses, he's got 9, 12, 14, 19, and then minus 4. So red is the big winner.
Thurn and Taxis is easy to understand, easy to teach, and fast to play, but it's surprisingly strategic. There's both strategical and tactical elements, but as you play it a couple times, you kind of learn where you want to go in the board and where you want to go fast. It's really important to get to those different bonuses first because they're worth more points, and it's really important, if possible, to get to that final carriage first because that can be worth a lot of bonus points as well. There's also a pseudo-pressure luck element if you're ever in a situation where you don't have enough cards to extend your current postal system, but you may want to go for it anyway, in which case you just hope the card you need comes up, or you can try wiping out the board and going for it that way, but I try to avoid that special power as much as possible. This game holds up very well. I've played it for a long time. The only thing I don't like about it really is the name. I'm not sure Thurn is a real word, but that's a very small quibble against the gameplay itself. It's a former Spiel des Jahres winner, but it's been around a long time, so it's a little bit harder to find these days. But if your group is into light to medium weight games, this is one I strongly suggest you check out. That's Thurn and Taxis. Thanks for watching.